Warning, this is a conversation about football. This episode features 3 English teachers talking about Euro 2020. 1. For quite a long time. If you don't like football, then obviously feel free to skip this. It's all right, we won't cry. Well, maybe a little bit. But if you fancy joining us, you are very welcome. And I'm certain that there will be bits of English that you can learn and prizes that you can win. Yes, there is an actual competition in which you can win real prizes. We're doing a competition giveaway. Just keep listening or watching to find out more. So, having said that, let's now get started. One, two. So, hello, viewers and listeners. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to this Swapcast, this podcast crossover, or whatever you want to call it. My name's Luke Thompson. Joining me here, we have Zdenek Lucas and Martin Johnston. We'll start with Zdenek. Hello, Zdenek. How are you today?
Hello. I'm great. Thanks. It's a great honor to be here.
Great to have you here. And also we have Martin Johnston too. Hi, Martin. How are you today?
Always fantastic. Great to be here. Although I am a bit concerned. You said we're here with Luke Thompson, but I see you in a different place with a different voice. I'm starting to wonder if you're some kind of imposter.
No, it is the real me. I promise. I know I'm in a different room here, and but it is the real me. I promise. So, it's a long story, but I won't go into the details. But yes, I've got a kind of a cold and a bit of a sore throat, which means that I'm kind of losing my voice. But don't worry, everybody. All right, I definitely don't have COVID-19, and I'm certain because I have had 2 tests in the last 5 days, and they both were negative. I mean, negative in the good sense. Negative meaning I definitely don't have COVID. I've just got a really annoying cold, which is causing me to lose my voice.
You had a late fitness test, though, I heard, and you were able to make the show, which was great news.
That's right, a late fitness test. There was that's right. There was a chance that I wouldn't be able to do this last night. The voice was in very bad condition. I talked to my manager about it, and obviously the boss has said, just we'll see how it goes, Luke, and just we'll see in the morning, how the voice is. So we've decided it's probably for the best that we give it a try.
Exactly.
So yes, that explains that, and the different background is because. Different background is because I'm not in my normal flat. I'm actually, I'm back in the UK, which was a very last minute decision. It's a long story. I won't give the details, but yes, here I am in England, and I'm in sort of my mum's room. It's a sort of office slash sort of cupboard room. I don't know what to call it. But there you go. All right. But it is me, I promise. Even though I sound different and it looks like I'm in a different place, I promise it is me. I am Luke from Luke's English Podcast. I haven't been replaced by some kind of football-knowing imposter.
It's like that thing of what wasn't it, Paul McCartney, of he died and someone else came in. It's maybe the same thing happened with you.
You're going to start a conspiracy theory at this rate, Martin, exactly. That Luke is dead, that I've been killed and replaced by some body double, but
you regenerated like Doctor Who or someone.
This is not the first time that this has happened, though, is it? Because Zdenek and I did a meetup in a pub in London. Was it 2 years ago? I think
something like that. Yeah, I remember it quite vividly. Yeah, because I remember us waiting for Luke to come to join the pub, and then somebody came, and that person started talking to us, but just had a really weird voice, and none of the Lepsters in the pub had any idea it was you, even though they had been listening to you for years.
That's right, because I came in and kind of spoke like this. I sounded a bit like Miles Davis, the trumpet player who kind of famously spoke like this. I didn't have the American accent as well, but I kind of spoke like this. Hello, everybody. Hi, how are you? And everyone was like, who's this guy? And Zdenek was like, no, that's Luke. And I was like, it's me, it's Luke. It's Luke. And then it's like, and they're like, no, you're not Luke. We know Luke's voice, and that's not Luke's voice. So please go away. You're blocking the entrance. It was kind of like that. Right. Anyway, football. We are here to talk about football. So let's do this. We are here to talk about Euro 2021. I don't know, is it Euro 2020 or Euro 2021? It's both at the same time.
Exactly. Strange, isn't it? Make your mind up, I think. I go for one or the other.
I think I'm going for Euro 2020 because that's the official name of the tournament. Okay. So we're here to talk about Euro 2020, especially England and the Czech Republic, because obviously Martin and I are English. Zdenek is from the Czech Republic, so we will be focusing on that a bit. Although we'll be talking about the tournament in general. You're going to, viewers, listeners, you're going to listen to 3 English teachers talking about football, okay? And there are going to be some giveaways. That's right, special giveaways from us to you as part of a little competition that we're doing. You can win stuff. So keep listening and watching to find out the details. Let's introduce ourselves briefly. I'm going to ask both of you who you are, where you are, and who you are sponsored by. And because we're not sponsored by a soft drink manufacturer.
Maybe after this podcast might be different once they watch this. Coca-Cola could be on the phone in a few hours, so you never know. But at the moment, no, yeah.
Considering we did the Ronaldo move, I think Coca-Cola will be on the phone saying, what did you do? Our share price dropped even further.
Although I read that's actually not true, because I read an article about that saying it. So first of all, it went from like 252 billion to 248 billion. It was like 1%. And they said that movement is actually quite common. And they said the main market is in America. And although Cristiano Ronaldo is also famous in America, no one's bothered about football there. If it had been someone like LeBron James, then that could have, but I don't think they're watching a press conference about, who was it, Portugal? I can't remember. So that apparently is nonsense. So I've debunked that myth there for you straight away.
And we know, don't we, that all publicity is good publicity, ultimately.
Exactly.
So it's probably only helped Coca-Cola further.
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, their incessant rise or inflation, I don't know what to call it, as it cannot be stopped. Anyway, so who are you? Who are you? Where are you? Who are you sponsored by? And what is the name of your podcast? Just tell us those things first. Zdenek, we'll start with you.
All right. So who am I? I'm Zdenek. Nice to meet you all. I'm an English teacher from the Czech Republic. So I'm pretty much outnumbered by English teachers here. And I am currently in the Czech Republic. I am a private English teacher, and I also have my own English podcast called Zdenek's English Podcast. And lately I've been teaching English using board games. It's like my sort of like a speciality, or what you might call it. And and I love football, and that's why I'm happy to be here.
Fantastic. Can I just add an additional question, which is, what's the current temperature of the room that you're sitting in? It's hot. 27
degrees Celsius. I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit. Don't ask me that, but it's very hot. Yeah. Indeed.
Okay, good. It's this important context. Martin, who are you? Where are you? And tell us about your podcast. Go.
Okay, so my name is Martin, as probably it says on Zoom, which you can see. And I'm from England. I'm originally from Essex, but I currently live in Sicily, which is where I am now. And my podcast is called Rock and Roll English, if I move my head here. And You might notice it's the only English podcast that has a grammatical mistake in the title because I'm missing an apostrophe, which kind of tells you everything you need to know about rock and roll English, because it's, who cares about apostrophes? It's kind of rock and roll. It's like we're doing our own thing, like sod punctuation and this kind of thing. And so I record conversations with my friends talking about everything and nothing at the same time, telling lots of funny, embarrassing stories, and just trying to have a good time, really. And that's basically how the podcast works. And temperature in the room, I'm not sure about in this specific room, but I know it's 37 degrees outside today, and generally this room gets hotter. So I think towards the end of the match, like a football match, you will see me sweating up quite a lot. If it goes into extra time, I don't know if I'll be able to make it, but I'll do my best.
We might need to have one of those breaks that they have in the game sometimes.
Yeah.
Where they all the thing about those what do they call those breaks?
Refreshment breaks or something like that.
Refreshment breaks. But the thing about those refreshment breaks is, right, all the players, they stop, they go to the side of the pitch, and they all are given bottles. But do those players understand how to drink? Because a lot of them are pouring the water on their heads, splashing it in the face. It's like, guys, you're great at football, but you really need to work on your drinking abilities.
That's true. And sometimes they squirt it, and it looks like just not going in the mouth. And you think, it's going everywhere except the place it's actually supposed to be going, in your mouth.
Someone needs to give these guys training on how to drink. That's all. But we might need refreshment breaks at some point. If only we had bottles of refreshing beverages that we could, drink from in the room. Okay. Now, next question. So, what is your special giveaway? Let's move on to that. Zdenek, what's your special giveaway for this competition that we will be explaining during this conversation?
Yeah, so I've decided to give away a course that I've recently rustled up. It's called English Through Role Plays, and it focuses on spoken English mostly. There's some target language there, and I try to make it funny. The videos there, and the main task for the learners, it's an online group course. Yeah, so I'm gonna be there with the learners in a little group, and the main task is a role play always. So I'm gonna be giving this away, and it's a course which consists of 6 classes.
Okay, so the lucky winner will have free access to all 6 classes in this course. Three winners. Mm-hmm. Did you get that, everyone? That your chances of winning this have just gone up by 200%, I think. Maths was never my strong point. A lot. It was 1, now it's 3. That's got to be 200%.
So it's why you did that 3 there, Luke. This is actually a big thing in Italy. Like, if you do that here, everyone thinks you're crazy. 3 is this.
Oh
no, it's not. It's not offensive. Everyone just thinks you look stupid. So I did that once, and then they laughed my 3 out of the room. Like, what do you think you're doing with that 3? So yeah, I always do this now. So just an interesting fact about the number 3. Yeah, it feels so much more natural. It is easier just to do that, because it's this, you do this. It's difficult.
Okay, so they are right about that, the Italians.
It's easier, isn't it?
Yeah, because
gestures are a big thing in Italy, aren't they?
Exactly.
Yeah. Gestures it's important. You've got to get your gestures right.
The problem is, though, when you're counting, you have to go 1, 2. Actually, no, that's the way I count. Forget that. I just obviously can't count. Counting to 3 is quite a big deal for me, obviously.
You need to work on that, Martin.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So, Martin, what are you going to give away as part of this amazing competition?
So I'm going to give away 3 months access to the Rock and Roll English family area, where there are lots of extra podcasts. In fact, there are over 600 extra podcasts. They've all got transcripts. We have weekly conversation classes. There are video lessons and lots of other great stuff.
Oh my goodness, you've been working hard.
Yeah, really hard. Yeah.
Well, the lucky winners, 3
months.
See, I did it right that time.
Yeah, you did
See
it,
that?
Yeah, exactly.
Three lucky people can access your family. Okay,
yeah,
that and listeners and viewers, that's not his actual family. That's just that you're not allowed to access that, okay? But no,
3 months access to come and live here with my wife and my daughter.
Just full access to the family.
Exactly. Wow. It's more than I expected.
You get to sleep in bed in the middle between me and my wife for 3 months.
No, the Rock and Roll Family is the name that you use for your special paid service, exactly, which you put a lot of work into. And yes, 3 lucky people will be able to access all of it. Okay.
Although I didn't actually know it was 3 people, but okay, that's fine.
Well, sorry.
That's again, it's rock and roll vibe. We go with the flow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys are offering these courses that you've put your blood, sweat, and tears into. I would offer free access to Luke's English Podcast Premium, but you know what? I actually can't. Like, I logistically am unable to do that because it's just not one of the system that I use for Luke's English Podcast Premium doesn't allow that to happen. So I'm afraid that's not possible. But you know what? I am going to offer something which I think probably the value of it is considerably less than what you two are offering. But I'm going to offer those 3 people a Luke's English Podcast mug each.
If you sign it, then the value immediately will just shoot through the roof. So.
You think? It wouldn't go down. It's like, I like this mug, but there's a stain on it, which I can't get off. No, that's Luke's signature. Oh, all right. What can I... All right. Yeah, maybe I should sign the mug with some kind of
on the outside though, because if they put tea in it, they're kind of like drinking the ink, maybe. So sign it on the outside.
On the outside,
right?
Okay,
that's a good idea. Yeah.
3
signing it on the inside would be very difficult, also, like logistically to
get my hand in
exactly.
to sign it inside the mug. 3 signed Luke's English Podcast mugs. I've been working on my merchandising store has been unavailable for ages, and I'm slowly opening things up again. And I've worked out that I will be able to offer 3 mugs. The store is not open yet, though. Everyone, okay? This is just a special. I'm making special arrangements for this to happen. Okay.
The value is just going up and up now.
It is, isn't it? The expectation is going up and up. Okay. Next question. Let's go back to football. So I would say, and this is a question that I think that many of our viewers and listeners will be wondering, and this is which Premiership football team do you support? The Premiership is a high-profile division. Which Premiership team do you support? Should I ask you that question, Zdenek?
Sure. I support Arsenal, the Gunners.
See, that's why I was wondering whether I should ask you, because I thought maybe you'd be just too embarrassed to tell us that.
All right. Well,
you see what I did? You see what I did? I poured scorn on Arsenal.
I am a bit embarrassed, you're right, because we haven't been doing particularly well lately. So, yeah, Arsenal.
Okay.
There's nothing else to add, really.
Sure. Zdenek. Yes. Martin, how about you?
I'm almost a little bit embarrassed these days for different reasons, because I support Manchester United, but I'm from the south of England. So the classic, what they call maybe glory hunter, because my time, like when I was a child growing up, early 90s, and there was like Cantona. And I remember we were like the first people in the world to have Sky TV. So they were on TV a lot. And I didn't really have for example, my dad's not so into football. So normally your dad gets you in. So I didn't know this thing about you have to support local team. And then when you get a bit older and you realize that it's too late to go back. You're in too deep. So you have to keep plugging away, which was really difficult because they kept winning everything. So it was difficult, but I mean, that has been more difficult in the last probably 8 years.
Since Ferguson left, basically.
Yeah, who I actually describe Alex Ferguson as my second dad. And in fact, there's a documentary out about him that came out recently. And so you can watch this on Amazon Prime Video. And here you had to pay €5 for it. So I said to my wife that she knows nothing about football, doesn't care at all. But I said, look, you have to watch this, okay? Because he's like my second dad, and you're offending my family if you don't.
Powerful words for an Italian. Is she Sicilian?
She's Sicilian, yeah.
So if you say, look, you're disrespecting my family if you don't watch this, she'll be like, oh, right, okay, I'll definitely watch it then.
Exactly. So she watched it with me. And at the end, this is a quote. She said, that was the best €5 we've ever spent because it was so good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Just tell us again what that was. It was a documentary about Alex. Is it Alex or Alec Ferguson?
Alec is just the way, I didn't know this either. It's just the way Scottish people say it, apparently.
Okay.
But it is Alex, yeah. Alexandra is the full name. Yeah.
Okay. So what's the documentary called?
I think it's called Never Give In. About Alex Ferguson. That's the main part.
Alex Ferguson documentary.
Amazon Prime Video. And
as an Arsenal fan, I have to admit he is a true legend. Yeah,
it was amazing. So but it was more the story of a man, though. It wasn't like, obviously my wife that's not interested in football, but it's the story of the man, which was fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. So it's now time to give details of the competition giveaway. We didn't give details before, but here they are now. So the details are this. You will find a link in the description to this video, this podcast, or whatever. There is a link to a Google form. Just put your email address in the Google form. Now, we're not using those email addresses for marketing. We're not going to use them. We're not going to give you spam. It's just for this competition, we promise. So put your email address in the form, send it off. And so the deadline for this is the 6th of July, midnight, 6th of July, Central European time. Okay. Put your email address in. What we will do is all the email addresses that will come in, we will select three randomly, okay, from all the email addresses that have come in. And those are the three winners. Okay. So, all three of those will get these things. They'll get Zdenek's prize, they'll get Martin's prize, and they'll get my prize. Okay, Zdenek, what's your prize that each of those three people will get?
Mm-hmm. So my prize is participation in English through Role Players course. So it's 6 lessons, 6 80-minute lessons.
Okay. Great. And they can find the details of that course on
teachersdenek.com.
teachersdenek.com. My voice is nearly gone. Links in the description for teachersdenek.com, the details of the English through Role Plays course that he's mentioned. But each of those three winners will get free access to that course. Nice. Okay. And Martin, what are you offering to each person?
So I'm offering membership to the Rock and Roll English family, where there are lots of extra podcasts with transcripts, and we even do weekly conversation lessons. I wanted to give 3 months for 3 people just to make it sound good, to round it off, 3. But unfortunately, I might be bankrupt if we do that. So if we do 3, I'm going to give the 3 people 1 month's membership each.
Okay. And then for me, my prize is that those 3 people will each receive a Luke's English podcast mug. Okay. All right. So check the link. You'll find a Google form where you can put your email address in, and we will pick out 3 email addresses from all of the ones that we receive, and those 3 people will receive the prizes. Okay. There you go. Right. Let's get back to the conversation. Next question is, are you a football expert? Zdenek, to what extent are you an expert?
Well, you introduced this show, or what you might call it, by saying we are no experts. You did what we call a disclaimer, but I was actually feeling like if I am an expert in anything, it's football. So I would like to think I am, because I have, ever since I was a little boy, I have always had football as my number one interest. And I've played football almost my entire life. And I love it. I watch a lot of football in my spare time. And yeah.
Okay, well, sorry for like...
I forgive you, Luke.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right, great. Good. Martin, how about you? What's your level of expertise?
I would say a few years, so maybe 10 years ago, something like that, maybe a bit longer. I would have been like, I would have definitely considered myself an expert. I would have considered, like, I would have laughed at the experts and said, no, I'm a level above you, because it was my life. But I would say in the last, basically since Alex Ferguson left, no, and especially in the last few years, of like wife, now child, I've been watching less and less, and especially with COVID, like watching football with no fans it's just disgusting almost. I just couldn't do it. So my football knowledge is a lot less these days. So I'd probably say I'm not an expert now, unfortunately, which almost it's quite painful for me to admit that. But
I'm not saying I'm an expert. I'm just very passionate about it. Okay, that's the main thing. I watch a lot of football.
I'm very much like that. So I must admit, I always think like, countries. I don't really agree with all this. I'm a kind of citizen of the world. I consider myself man-made borders. But then when it comes to like a football tournament, I just think like, fuck everyone. Like, come on, England. Like, which is totally different to my normal mentality. In fact, I was at a wedding the other day, and obviously everyone was Italian. I was talking, and they were saying like, who would you support if Italy played England? And I was like, I would want to win 10-0, like against. That would be like even more reason to want to win that. So that's I just do get very passionate, especially when it's a big tournament.
Was that an Italian person who asked you that question?
Yeah.
The reason they asked you is just because they hoped that you would say Italy.
Yeah, but there's no way. I mean, it's bad enough for me to admit I'm not a football expert anyway. There's no way I'm ever going to say something like I'm going to support Italy over England. I said, when England get knocked out, which will surely happen, then I'll support Italy. That's fine.
Yeah.
Right.
But until that happens, I'll be behind England all the way.
I was watching France versus Germany in France, in Paris, where I normally live, on a terrace, in an area just outside a cafe where they had a big screen. And one of the guys sitting in front of me, identified very easily that I'm English. And he was like, oh, how long have you been here? Blah, blah, blah. So who do you support, England or France? I was like, mate.
Yeah.
Like, and the reason he asked me is because there was a slight hope inside him that I was going to say, well, yeah, France. Because, can you imagine a French person would just be delighted to hear me say, yeah, France, because, everything English is shit, isn't it? I mean, honestly, on balance, now I've spent time thinking about it, it's France. He would be absolutely delighted. But, I could hardly contain, I couldn't really hide the contempt for the question in my face. Yeah. I was just like, well, yeah, it's England,
Yeah.
Instead of just laughing in his face and going, England, obviously. I just had to go, well, it's England. But, I'm sort of, I'm quite keen for France to do well too. Although I have to be honest, there were moments during the game when I secretly was thinking, oh, go on, Germany, score a goal. It'll make things more interesting. I love watching French people get angry. Right, questions. So I've got questions here that we all wrote these questions. I'm just moderating this. Oh, yeah, I was going to say my level of expertise in football. I think I'm certainly third. I'm doing it again. I'm third in the group here in terms of my expertise in football. I love football. I love playing football, although I don't play it very much these days. I don't support a particular team in the Premiership, which you are not allowed to say. I mean, that's breaking some social rule. You're not allowed, it's breaking the rules. I know I'm not allowed to say that, but it's true. I don't have allegiance to a particular team. Although, there was a period when I was the peak of my football craze, my football enthusiasm was in the late 80s, early 90s. I'm showing my age now. Late 80s, early 90s. And I was a Nottingham Forest fan. I'm from the Midlands. I'm also from the southeast, from London, but spent a lot of time growing up in the Midlands area. And 1989, Nottingham Forest were doing really well. I think we were playing against maybe Man United in a semi-final of the FA Cup. And my dad and I both liked the way that Nottingham Forest played. They were managed by Brian Clough at the time. Legendary football manager Brian Clough. He was their manager at the time. It was the end of his managerial career. But the guy was amazing because he made the team play a certain type of football that was very nice to watch. They played the ball on the ground a lot, a lot of passing on the ground rather than the basic, Route 1 style of just hoofing the ball up. The English style of football is just get a big man at the front and just hoof the ball into the air, long ball game, aim it at the centre forward, and then just try and scrappily get the ball in somehow. But Brian Clough had a more continental approach, I think, inspired by like Italian teams or Spanish teams from the 70s, I think. And they played the ball on the ground, and it was really attractive football. And so my dad said to me, look, if Forest get to the final of the FA Cup, we're going to go, he said. He didn't say it in that voice. My voice made it sound scary. We're going to go. I was like, do we have to? If Forest get to the final, I'll buy us tickets and we'll go. And I was like, that sealed the deal for me. I was about 11 or 12. And so that was like, bang, sealed. I'm a Forest fan now. They didn't get to the final, but they were good. And in 1990, they were even better, and they did get to the final. And we went to Wembley and watched.
Are you sure it wasn't 91?
Yeah.
The famous one with Gaza.
Yeah, it's 1990.
Gaza got injured. Yeah,
it's 1991. But it doesn't. Who cares?
Yeah,
I got it wrong.
This is my football. The old days. I remember just reading. When I was a kid, like reading books and things about football because I was just so interested. In fact, I remember about Nottingham Forest finding out. I remember specifically being in the school library reading, and you're supposed to read some educational book, and I found a book about football and finding out Nottingham Forest had won the European Cup twice. And I remember thinking, blind, but that must mean like everyone's won it. Like even like my Sunday team have probably won it. But I didn't realise the whole story that they had the magical Brian Clough.
They were greats in the 70s, and then they were good for that brief period. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It was 1991, of course. 1990 was like, well,
Manchester
obviously
United, Crystal Palace.
Manchester United, Crystal Palace.
Sometimes this is just how rock and roll I am. In fact, I was literally doing this the other day. I was just sitting there, and my wife said, "Like, what's the matter? What are you thinking of?" And in my head, I was just trying to name the winner of every FA Cup final from 1990. So, trying to spend my time really productively. She was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, nothing." And then she insisted, and when I told her, she just sort of looked at me like, "You are pathetic." And I sort of like had my head down. I was like, "Yeah, I know."
I have to admit, Martin, I do the same thing. But my interest is in international football and the big tournaments, and I do that too. I try and make sure that my mind is not going soft.
Yeah.
Sometimes exactly. I will be like, right, okay, come on, let's remember all the World Cup winners, and I'll go through all the years as far back from 1966 because before that it doesn't count, right?
Doesn't count exactly.
It's like, okay, England, Brazil, 1974, Germany, 78,
Argentina,
82, Italy. Right, 86. Argentina, Maradona, yeah. 1990, Germany.
Germany, yeah.
Sorry. 1994, Brazil
on penalties. Baggio missed the penalty for Italy.
Terrible year for Italy.
Yeah.
1998, La France. La Belle France.
Yeah.
Zinedine Zidane and Emmanuel Petit.
They were the host, weren't they? They were the host of the tournament.
They were the host. Are you trying to take it away from them, Zdenek?
And whilst we're on the host, I've got such a great fact that I need to get in somehow, and this is a nice opportunity. I've read a book once. When I bought the book, the title was "Why England Always Lose," But then they actually changed the title to The Economics of Sport. And I thought that made that second title, I wish I had that on my bookshelf, because that makes it look so much more like an intelligent person's book. Whilst I just had Why England Always Lose. And there was only just like one chapter on that anyway. And anyway, they said about hosting a tournament, so like the World Cup, the Euros, or the Olympics as well. And they said, like, because they always say it's a good investment for the country. And they said that's actually not true, because the country end up losing money, but it brings this feeling of like togetherness. And suicide rates in every single country that had the Olympics, the World Cup, were reduced that year by more than 50%. That's crazy, you know, by more than 50%, because people just feel more. You feel like you're part of something.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yep. But what about in the immediate aftermath? Did suicide rates go up by 150%?
They went by the whole year, and I thought that was amazing, because, and from my experience, the only experience I have of that is when football came home in 1996 and England hosted the tournament. And there really was, like, you could almost just feel the buzz around the play. And also the Olympics in 2012. Although I actually came home late for the Olympics, I was in Italy, and then I remember I wasn't really so interested, because I'm not so interested in the Olympics. I remember getting home and like my sister-in-law saying like, "Oh, I need to get home and watch the swimming," and I was like, "When have you ever been interested in swimming?" Because everyone just got so involved in it, and it was the same kind of thing there.
Okay. Yeah, I totally get it. Well, we won't continue listing the World Cup winners. People can just Wikipedia it, of course, if they don't know. I mean, yeah. Anyway, we've got to focus.
Just send me a private message. I'm happy to go through it with you. Okay, that's fine.
We could talk about Euro 96, but we plan to talk about it later. We've got to talk about Euro 2020, which is ongoing. Yes, but to finish the point, I'm less of an expert on football than you two, but I love especially international football. Right, so where are we, Zdenek? Euro 2020. Where are we now in the competition? Just to give people context.
All right, so we've just started the third round of the group stages. So there are a few more matches to be played, and then there will be the knockout stage, obviously. So yesterday, one of the groups, was it the Group A? I think that's logical. The Group A basically finished. So this year it's a bit different, because there are more competitive, more participants of the tournament. So it's always the first two teams progress to the knockout stages, but also the 4 out of 6 third places also go through, which in my humble opinion makes the tournament really interesting.
I wanted to ask people's opinion on that. I don't like this. I don't like this. The third place team can go through, because I think it just takes the edge of it. So, for example, the group where there's France, Germany, Portugal, and I think Hungary. Normally, you're looking at that group thinking, okay, one of those teams is going home, which is good. But now, and I don't like this, the thing. So I can't remember who finished third in the group yesterday, maybe Switzerland, I can't remember. Now they have to wait to see if they qualify. I like it to be black and white. You finish third in the group, pack your bags, go home.
And also, if you're in a group that doesn't have 3 teams going through, you're going to be a bit annoyed, aren't you? You're going to be like, wait a minute, these guys have got a considerably greater chance of getting through to the next round than
it goes on like goal difference and points. It's like the 4 best third placed teams, if that makes sense.
Oh, so it's not specific to any group.
It's not just sort of just random of like, you know, we quite like the look of like Hungary. Yeah, come on, you can come through.
I thought it would be like Group A, 3 teams are going to go through, but Group B, only 2 teams. Fuck you, Group B.
No, that would be harsh. That would be harsh.
Okay, so they just.
On the other hand, I would say that you have fewer matches that like don't matter, because you play until the last match. You know, because even if you lose your first 2 matches, there is a mathematical chance that you might still progress. So, I mean, I think there are both good points and bad points about this. But I understand where you're coming from, Martin.
Okay. Have we already established then? I'm sorry, I wasn't focusing because I'm thirsty and I was thinking, how am I going to open one of these bottles of this beverated sugar drink?
You can
Beverated. No, carbonated sugar drink. That's what I wanted. How am I going to open that with my teeth? I can't do that.
No, I can't either.
I've got a friend who can do that with his teeth, but
normally big scary men must have.
You've lost your voice. Don't lose your teeth. Come on.
Good point.
I know, but I need to be hydrated. I do. I need hydration. I've run out of water. Anyway, so yeah, we are. It's the 21st of June, 2021. England are going to play the Czech Republic tomorrow. We are in the sort of final stages of the group stage of the tournament. That's where we are. Okay. How many matches in the competition have you seen? Have you managed to get 100% or not? Zdenek?
Oh, I haven't. I have seen most of the matches though, but there were a few I didn't get to watch. But overall, I think it's been a fantastic tournament, and even the matches that I wouldn't normally be interested in sort of are making it for me. It's really an interesting tournament. Yeah.
Okay.
What about you, Martin?
So certainly not 100%. I mean, even at the very height of my footballism, I'm calling it. I love the football. So I'd probably say around France 98. I mean, to get 100% of the matches, that's going some. So even then, I don't think I probably did. Then I'd probably put my percentage in the 90s. Now much lower. Although one thing is, it's just good to have on in the background, isn't it? Sometimes you're not necessarily watching it. It's just like, well, there's a match on, put the TV on, look over when there's a goal, kind of vibe. So I've been doing a lot of that as well, of when I can. But no, I haven't actually been able to watch that much. Obviously, the England games I've seen. I haven't even seen all of the Italy games, but I've seen all the England games and bits and bobs here and there, I would say.
Yeah, similar to you, Martin. I've probably seen about 40%, 50% maybe. Quite a lot. I mean, I've seen quite a lot of it. But I also have I listen to the commentary on Radio 5 Live.
Whilst watching the TV?
No, just while cooking in the kitchen or doing other things. I'll just have 5 Live. Little plug there for BBC 5 Live, other radio stations.
So much.
I just love audio.
You don't want to go for BBC iPlayer kind
so
of vibe.
Devoted to audio.
Okay.
Right. But no, I like the commentary on 5 Live. I think it's amazing.
That's
actually,
one thing I've never enjoyed. I've always hated listening to football on the radio. I just hate it because, but you can't really understand anything. And then when they start talking like this, you think, oh, there's going to be a goal. But it's I like so many times. I remember listening to it in the car when I was a child and just think I've got no idea what's actually going on here. So yeah, I'm definitely not a fan of listening on the radio.
Although I would say it must be linguistically rich. It might be interesting to do some kind of a thesis on this, to be honest. Well, the language must be slightly different from the TV commentary.
You did do a thesis on this, Zdenek.
Not on the radio. Not on the radio commentary, though.
But you did a master's thesis about football commentaries.
That's right.
In English.
Oh, God, I would have loved that. Send it to me. I'm going to read it. Okay.
I don't think it's as interesting as you might think, but it was an interesting thing to do. You know, it made the otherwise really not very good experience of writing your master's thesis at the university. It made it way more enjoyable for me because I was transcribing the commentaries and picking out the language and sort of analyzing it.
Not 90 minutes because that's
5 minutes. It was 5 minute excerpts, like five. Right. I had like 5 minute clips.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I feel like I should now, we should take a little tangent into football cliches that you hear in football commentaries. It's one of my questions, actually. What's your favorite cliche by football commentators? Because they often will say the same kind of thing in their commentaries.
Okay, I'm going to.
Go on, Martin.
Luke, normally we need him to normally ask.
Sorry, Martin.
Direct questions. Like Zdenek and I are like, we need direction, Luke. Like
Martin.
we don't know what we're doing.
Martin, there you go. I'm doing it now.
Good.
Martin,
thank you. And I need to be ordered.
I will continue to do that.
I thought about this question a bit, and I haven't really got one which is so common. So I first of all thought one of my best ones. This is more Sunday League kind of thing. When you would hear when playing football as like a child, and you would often be playing terrible pitches and lots of wind in England, obviously in the winter, and lots of small children trying to run around after this ball. And then when it would bounce, it would like get lost with the wind, and then you would just hear everyone just going, "Don't let it bounce," and then it's bounced, and then the ball's just sort of like the goalkeeper's bounced, and it's like bounced into the other goal. So that was my favourite from Sunday League football. But one of my favourite one, like that a commentator used a lot, Andy Gray, who was a very famous commentator, now is not really well liked because of some not very nice things and views about women, I suppose, that and he basically got sacked from TV, well, from English TV, and rightly so, I want to say. And he had one which I loved, which was form is temporary, class is permanent, which I always just thought, even just in life in general, because you think a player, sometimes they might be going through a bad period, but you never lose that class, you never lose the touch.
I've got to say, a bit of rock and roll vocabulary there, Martin. Form and class. Can you explain?
Well, so form, in this context, would be how well a player is playing at that time. If you are in good form, you're playing well. If you're in bad form, you're not playing very well. And class is a difficult one because it's not like class as in the
class system.
Yeah,
middle class, upper class, lower class.
No. It's not. It's not like that. It's like I suppose almost your ability. I suppose if you talk about a player's class, ability. But it's such a lovely term. I think such an elegant way to describe a player of like, and it is true. You never lose it because back in the day, I was a fairly decent footballer. Whilst now I'm not, but not because I can't. I've still got the touch. You never lose that. It's the legs. You just can't run anymore. That's the problem. But that thing of like the class is permanent. I love that.
So like Beckham is a good example of a player who had class.
Definitely.
Because there was a level of talent that was just built into him that he would never lose. He was always going to have the ability to pass the ball perfectly. But his form is more like, it's difficult to explain that, isn't it? It's just like the way he felt at that period of time in his life, and whether he was being lucky or unlucky even during that period. But he still had an inbuilt level of natural talent. That's class. But also class, I feel, is in the way that you conduct yourself as a footballer.
Absolutely. In fact, I think I mentioned this in a podcast recently. A form of class of a person, which I always think is, you can see someone as a classy person if you go to a pub, and you're at the bar, and then there's a person at the bar. They go to serve this person a drink, and he or she says, "No, sorry, he was before me." And you think, "Oh, like that's a class,
touch of class."
That is a touch of class, like because you have to be, It's just like,
because
I like that.
The bad thing to do in that situation would be to elbow the other person out of the way. But
which often happens.
Guinness, please, mate.
Yeah, which often does happen. So
yeah,
when someone actually says, "No, this person was before me." And going back to the footballing example of class, another thing I always think of a player that has class, they always have time on the ball. You never see a class player rushed. For example, Pirlo, the Italian player, you never saw him like running and like diving into tackles. He was always seemed like he had time on the ball. Sign of a good player.
It's like time moves more slowly for these people,
exactly,
and they're not in a stressed out panic.
Yeah,
they're just composed.
Exactly.
And like Zinedine Zidane is the perfect example of that, except for that one moment.
Yeah.
But even then he showed a little bit of class in it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he did it very efficiently. It was obviously a horrible moment, the headbutt. I mean, obviously it was a horrible moment of violence. But at the same time, you have a part of me respects the way that he did it so effectively.
Got very like into the part of like where it would wind you the most, I suppose, as well. Very efficient, straight there. Yeah.
Managed to get the center of gravity right into it like that. Pam! It's like if that was a game of Street Fighter 2, that would be like a perfect.
What a game as well, Street Fighter 2.
Oh yeah, let's not start. Don't get me started on that. Oh God, football! Right, we've got to continue talking about football. Zdenek, we'll go back to our resident expert here. Best. Let's talk superlatives. Best game, best team, best player so far. Best goal.
Okay, well, where do we start?
Take your pick.
Okay. So the best game, probably in terms of the number of goals scored and how open the game was, I would say Germany-Portugal was a really good game. So that's the game that Germany won 4-2. And Germany were the better team. They definitely deserved to win. And even though there was a moment of magic from Ronaldo, who is obviously the best Portuguese or the best known Portuguese player.
Pretty famous. That I think his first name's Cristiano. Maybe?
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dave, isn't it? Dave Ronaldo. Cristiano. That's it.
And when I say a moment of magic, no, I don't mean the Coca-Cola thing. Yeah, we basically defended a corner and then he ran like across the whole pitch at a top speed. He is, by the way, 36.
In fact, so he makes me feel young because he's the same age as me, and I kind of think, well, like he's still going, so like maybe I still might make it. You never know.
You say that, but I'm 2 years older than you, and I did find there was one player. I can't remember his name, but there was one player that is actually at this age. I was like, thank God, I'm still not. There's still a player that can play at my age. But the next tournament, I think that's it for me. I'm done.
Yeah, same.
It's interesting that he doesn't drink sugary carbonated drinks, isn't it? And he's very good at running the length of a pitch.
And then just to finish my point, basically, Ronaldo ran across the whole pitch, and then he was at the end of a goal. He scored a wonderful goal where they passed him the ball. It was an easy finish for Ronaldo, but just the willingness to go forward and how much he just does for the team, it's incredible. And he's just such an all-round player. And I didn't actually expect Ronaldo to be this good in this tournament. But the first thing he did, I think he did it in the first match, he became the top Euro goal scorer ever. He surpassed Platini, Michel Platini. Now he's at 11. I think is he at 11 goals? 11 or 12 goals.
He's also only a few away from scoring the most goals ever as an international player. I think someone from Iran has it at the moment. He's got 109, and I think Ronaldo's got 107.
So he's going to win football, basically.
Basically, yeah.
He's won football. Like Ronaldo scored the most goals, right? Ronaldo's won. Football's over now.
Exactly.
He won.
And because as we were mentioning how he looks after himself. And I always think a great comparison of this is Wayne Rooney, who is actually a year younger than Ronaldo. And if you go back to when they were playing at Manchester United, Rooney was 18, Ronaldo was 19. Rooney was actually considered the better player. The only difference is Ronaldo looks after himself, and Rooney's been like drinking beer, eating fish and chips in his spare time. So that's why when he got to the age of 30, his career just nosedived. And then he played in America. He went to Derby, and I think he retired at like 34. Whilst Ronaldo's 36 and is still ripping it up, as we say, like still doing extremely well.
Imagine Rooney. All right, Ronaldo, take it easy, mate. You're making the rest of us look bad.
I mean, the perfect example of this, there was a video, I think around about 2014, of Rooney, a few days before a match, having a boxing fight with his friends, and it was another footballer, Phil Bardsley. You can find this on YouTube. And Rooney actually gets knocked out. So you can imagine Ronaldo like in an ice bath, and then there's Rooney with his boxing gloves on going, come on, and getting knocked out. So that's how they prepare for games. So obviously it's strange that Ronaldo's still playing and Rooney isn't. Yeah.
Amazing. Oh dear.
So he was, for me, Ronaldo is has been one of the best players so far. But at the same time, a little caveat, it's kind of too early to say really, because it's gonna come down to those knockout matches really,
of course,
because then I don't think a player who finished in the group stages, whose team finished in the group stages, will be one of the best players of the tournament. It's not how it works usually, right? So
also in the last World Cup, I think Ronaldo scored a hat-trick against Spain in the first match. Exactly. And then they didn't actually do very well, and then everyone just kind of forgot about him. So it is exactly what you just said.
He's incredible. How many tournaments has excuse me? How many big international tournaments has he taken part in now? Here we go again, Martin.
Okay, so Euro 2004 was his first, and then he's been at every tournament since then. So 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. So international, this is, I suppose, his 9th tournament, and he's.
Oh, you're counting the World Cup.
Euros,
okay,
yeah.
Zdenek, did you see how good Martin?
Well, Martin is certainly an expert here. He's the expert here, so.
I was just impressed by your ability to count like that: 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 for an English teacher. I'm joking, of course. Everybody, please add irony to that. Okay, so we're focusing on Ronaldo. I mean, there's so many other players and so many other teams and games that we will not be able to mention during this conversation. I mean, Kevin De Bruyne is outstanding. He's got to be the best midfield player in the world. No,
didn't he not play in the first match because he was injured? I think he didn't play, and then he went on as a substitute, final, I believe. But then in their second game against Denmark, which by the way was again one of the best games, I believe, especially because of the way the Danish played. They were amazing. They were all over the place. They were the better team in that game, actually.
What?
Yes, they were the better team. I saw that match.
Why didn't they win then?
Look at the stats. Look at the shot stats and all that. But the reason Belgium won was because actually then they brought on some really good players. One of them was Hazard, and De Bruyne scored 1 goal as well. So then it was about a few really good team things they did in that match.
Bit of selection. But that sounds to me like they were the better team then. No? If they made some changes and brought on better players and then ultimately prevailed in the game, they're the better team then, aren't they, by definition? I know what you're trying to say. I know what you're saying. I'm just being... what's the word for it? It's annoying, I suppose. That's one of the things that's one of the things, going back to the football commentaries and the cliches, that you often get that, where people say, I think that, I think we should have won that game. I think it was, it's like, well, if you should have won, why didn't you win? Ultimately the only way of deciding that's it. It's like, we didn't deserve to lose, or we deserved to win. If you deserved to win, you would have won, because it's true, because ultimately the only test of whether a team is more successful or better is if they put the ball in the goal more than the other team, right? And look, what is it? Wind? I mean, it's not Sunday league football that Martin was playing in the past, where the wind is like maybe the most important player on the pitch. And if the ball bounces, the wind will blow it into your goal. That's not happening here. I mean, what other factors are there beyond just what's going on the pitch?
You could have a bad refereeing decision,
VAR, everything.
Like, there are lots of things that can go. I mean, as well. So let's go back to the 2010 World Cup. Okay, England, Germany. Germany are winning 2-0. England score a goal, 2-1, right before half time. Frank Lampard lobs the goalkeeper, hits the crossbar, bounces down like a yard over the line. Like, now, a moment like that, I mean, probably England would have lost anyway, but that changes things so much, because then it's 2-2. England are on the front foot, coming into half time. Everyone's like pumped up. And then how that changes the sort of like feeling in the game. And then they're going in half time annoyed and then end up losing. So moments like that can make a big difference.
I totally understand what you mean. I mean, another point of view is to argue that those are excuses, that any other peripheral thing that affects things can be used as an excuse. Oh yeah, the decision didn't go our way. I don't know.
But this was a clear and obvious error by the referee.
Yeah, true.
As we call it these days, and there was no goal line technology at the time. And we don't have to go too far with the Maradona goal with his hand, right?
I'm sorry the England goal against Germany in 1966. But, don't forget that.
Of course, exactly. And if you as well go back to Euro 96, so England, Scotland, it's 1-1. Scotland get a penalty. If that goes in, and if Uri Geller, who was above the stadium, like moving the ball, as he was about to, just for people that don't know the story, this Scottish player was about to take the penalty, and then just as he was about to hit it, the ball moved, and there was some crazy man in a helicopter above Wembley Stadium at the time, and said, "Who actually could bend spoons?"
You can't bend spoons.
Exactly. But and he said he moved the ball. They missed the penalty. England went up the other end and scored and made it 2-0. And then from there, that's when the tournament went. Whoosh.
Yeah, but wait a minute.
That moment.
The fact that the Scottish player didn't score is, I mean, okay, the ball moved slightly before he kicked it. Yeah, but I mean, it was his fault ultimately. If it's not Uri Geller.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that the things can change. So that sometimes as Jimmy Greaves famously said, football, it's a funny old game. Anything can happen. So sometimes you don't always get what you want. And then the other thing, speaking of cliches, is that's football. Like, there's no explanation except that's football.
Well, Martin, that's football, isn't it? At the end of the day. Yeah. And the one that I've noticed recently, in fact, England versus Scotland, Ali McCoist was commentating on the game, former Glasgow Rangers superstar. Ali McCoist, who kind of speaks like this. All the S sounds are all S sounds like this, So I think he should have scored. I think he should have scored is my favourite at the moment, where someone has gone up for a header. And, for example, they've gone up for a header and they've missed the header and it's gone over the bar or whatever. And Ali McCoist goes, "Oh, I think he should have scored there." It's like, of course he should have scored. That's the whole point of the game.
But Luke,
it's like saying, "I think you should have studied harder for that exam." That's why you failed. Well, I think you should have scored. Oh yeah, really? Oh, I think I shouldn't have scored. Actually, I think I should have just stopped and given the ball to the goalkeeper. Of course, he should have scored. That's the whole point.
But as an English teacher,
should have scored there, Sorry,
Luke, as an English teacher, you have to admit this is a brilliant opportunity to teach language for criticizing, right? Yes. It's amazing, or for whatever. It's the language for criticizing, right? Mostly. And like when you make a mistake, what do you call it? When you make a mistake, and then you sort of for blaming yourself as well, right? That's the word
for expressing regret.
Yeah, regrets. That's the one.
Yeah, but it's like the shades of meaning. The two slightly different meanings of should have. Like he should have scored. What Ali McCoist meant was he should have done better. He should have. That was an opportunity that he should have capitalized upon, right? And so that's what he means, rather than, because also he should have, meaning he made the wrong decision, like that's why it's like, he should have studied harder to pass the exam, means he should have made the decision to study harder. Whereas I think he should have scored means that, how do I describe that? That's it, rather than it being
such a clear-cut opportunity that,
he should have done better.
Sorry, I bet
is what he means.
Exactly, yeah.
But I just find that funny. That slight ambiguity. As a comedian, I jump on that. I'm like, of course he should have scored. That's like a stupid thing to say. I think, it's like at the end of a game, like England lose. Well, I think England should have won that. Oh yes, thanks for the insight.
Yeah, because in that way, it's to say like it would have been a better idea, which kind of makes it a bit strange. Look, with your back, you froze.
Everyone froze there for a second. We've got some interference here during the video, ladies and gentlemen. We are currently experiencing we're experiencing technical difficulties here. We've got an unstable or unstable internet connection. I think we're back. I think, and I think we're back now. Okay, back to the interview.
Sorry, I just want to mention something here, because on football cliches, and something that came into my head, which I hear so often, that I just want to bring up. I feel very strongly about this. Anytime you hear someone talking about someone, they will always say, like, for example, Cristiano Ronaldo is the best trainer. He's the first into the training ground and the last to leave. You hear, and I always think there must be a bloody queue. I mean, people must be getting to this training ground at like 3:00 in the morning, and to leave, everyone's going, "No, you go. I'm not going. You go. You go. I'm going to be the last to leave," because everyone is the last to leave and everyone is the first to get there.
Yeah, it's like, imagine a commentary track of someone talking about Portugal versus Germany. Well, Ronaldo, he's an outstanding player. I mean, he truly is world class. And, it's the devotion that he shows to not only the performance, but the training. He's the first to arrive on the training, in the training ground, and the last to leave. And they're all competing to be the first and last to leave. So
exactly. So they just live there,
at the training ground. Yeah,
that's a good example of a cliche. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean it's literal, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's just the commentator is trying to say that he's really dedicated.
I think the only person I've not heard that for is Wayne Rooney, because he wants to get home, drink beer, eat fish and chips, and then have a boxing fight with his friends.
Martin, maybe it does apply to him, but in a pub.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's the last to leave the pub.
That's what the bar staff are saying at the end of the night as they're cleaning up the bar. I'll tell you what, that Wayne Rooney's impressive, isn't he? Not only in his performance, but in his training. He's the first to arrive in the pub and the last to leave.
Exactly.
And the other classics, like it's a game of two halves.
I just wanted to say that, or the best defense is offense, right?
Okay, yeah. And another classic one is take every game as it comes. So we're not looking too far into the future. Just take every game as it comes. So you can guarantee they will say that. Yeah, they'll say like, oh, for example, you've qualified for the next round. Now you're like thinking of the final. Well, we're just taking every game as it comes, really, concentrating on the next game.
That's Harry Kane speaking there.
Yeah,
I can hear Harry Kane. I can detect Harry Kane in your voice there.
Don't forget to add, obviously. Well, obviously, we've gone out there. We've done our best. We've just like the manager, the boss has told us to, just have fun and let our feet do the talking. Obviously, that's what we've done, and we're just taking every game as it comes. Obviously, everything's obvious. It's like,
and another classic, like, speaking of interviews, I remember years ago, Michael Essien, who was a Chelsea player, they played a knockout game of the Champions League, because the footballers are just such robots. They have the standard things to say, take every game as it comes, blah, blah, blah. And they said, oh, like, you played well, you scored a nice goal. And he said, well, the important thing was just to get the 3 points. We're not playing for points. This is the knockout part of the tournament now. So you're just talking absolute rubbish.
It's just the Rolodex of phrases just going through the brain. Well, just like we've got to get the 3 points, and just someone grab him, someone just get him away from the microphone.
Do you have this cliche that players would say at a press conference before the match when they ask them, like, what's your strategy, what's your game plan? And the managers would say something like, well, we have to score more goals than them. Do you have a cliche like that? We say it all the time in my country. We say it all
ridiculous.
the time.
No,
do you say it in English as well, like that?
Yeah.
I mean, I've never heard a manager say that, because that really is like what we were going back to. Like, I should have won, to say, like, in that context of, like, it would have been a good idea to win the match. Like, that's crazy to say. Like, well, the main plan is to score more goals than them. Yeah. But other than that,
in the post-match conference, why did you lose? Well, they scored more goals than us. I think you would hear a manager say that.
Ultimately, what's happened is that they've hit the net more than us. They wouldn't say they've scored more goals than us. They would use some sort of idiomatic phrase. Yeah. They've found the net more than us. Ultimately, they've had more possession. They've found the net, more than us. And I think that we should have scored on several occasions. Like, you should have scored more than them. And like, I will shout at the TV sometimes during the punditry. That's when the experts or the guests in the studio are analysing the game afterwards, and they are basically sometimes using rather fancy language just to say, well, this team played better than this team. This team scored more goals than this team, and that's why this team won and this team lost. It's basic maths, isn't it? 1 is greater than 0. We all studied maths at school. But let's keep talking until it's time to stop.
Exactly. Just think how much money they get paid to talk rubbish like that. I mean,
it's about who says it.
Like,
Gary Neville, he's brilliant. I have a lot of respect for him. But it's ultimately who says it as well, and in what kind of way they say it. If they make it sound very compelling, then no matter what they say, you're just gonna look at it with your mouth wide open.
Yeah, I mean, we're joking and stuff, but I actually, you mentioned Gary Neville, and there are others who do bring some really interesting insight to their comments, and some of them are great. And they're articulate and stuff. I mean, Andy Gray is not an example of that, because he was just full of cliches and stupid graphics, computer graphics on the screen that don't really tell us anything. Like, there's a yellow circle around the guy who's got the ball. Like, we know who's got the ball because he's got the ball. You don't need to put a yellow circle around him and then an arrow showing us where he's running. We know where he's running because that's where he's running. You don't need to point an arrow, a graphic arrow, and it's like over analysis.
Although, as a commentator, I thought he was good just because he had passion. The famous one was when Steven Gerrard scored a last minute winner that sent Liverpool through the group of the Champions League, and as it hit the back of the net in like the 91st minute, Andy Gray, just again, you can find this on YouTube, just went, "Oh, yeah, beauty," which I thought was brilliant. Just to hear a commentator just lose it.
You are in Alan Partridge territory there, of course, because famously Alan Partridge, the comedy character, who's like striker and another, and other things like, and that was liquid football, and others like shit. Did you see that? That man must have a foot like a traction engine, and even just simply like, and that was a goal.
I just love the passion. I thought Andy Gray was a great commentator, less of a pundit, but the commentating side I thought was very good, just because of just the passion involved. That's what you love to see. I will always remember. So England played Northern Ireland. I think it was a qualifier for the 2006 World Cup, and England lost the match. And they were in the studio after, Gary Lineker and then Ian Wright. And so then Gary Lineker said to Ian Wright, so they're trying to analyse the game. So what do you think? And then Ian Wright just went, I don't want to talk about it. I'm fuming. And Lineker sort of looked at him and was like, well, you are being paid a lot of money to talk about it and give us your opinion. It's just, I just don't want to talk about it.
I bet that's when Arsenal lost the game.
We'll have that check back then, please, Ian. Thank you very much. Go on, Zdenek, sorry.
I just said that that's when Arsenal lost the game. That's why he didn't want to talk about it. That's what happened, basically.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I always thought so. Just like that kind of passion. And another one I remember, Nottingham Forest legend Martin O'Neill. This was for the playoff in the World Cup. The semi-finalists play each other when they lose for like the third place.
Yeah.
And it came to half time and they asked him his opinion. He literally, you could see he was just sort of like this and just went, "Oh, sorry. I don't really know because I think this is just the most pointless game in football." It's like, like two teams that got to the semi-final, so close to the final, very disappointed. And now we're making them play again. It's just like, this is just the most pointless game in football. And it's absolutely true. Like, who cares about that? England
third and fourth positions.
Yeah. England got there last time in the World Cup because they got to the semi-final. I didn't even watch it because it makes no difference.
But it wasn't always happening, was it? Like, I remember the Czech Republic in Euro 2004. That's when we lost in the semi-finals against Greece.
But it's the World Cup, though, they do it in, not the Euros.
Yeah, so I think they do it in the World Cup, but they don't do it in the Euros.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know certainly it's been happening since 1990 because England played Italy in the fourth playoff in 1990 in the World Cup. And they've done it since then. I don't know when it started, but it's the most stupid thing.
I understand it in the Olympics because you have the medals and it really counts. Like the bronze medal is a nice achievement.
But also, though, when in the Olympics, if you're doing a 100-meter run, everyone's running at the same time. So when you're playing the third and fourth match, it's not like you're playing that thinking we might win the World Cup in this match. Because you're playing the match, which...
Yeah, it's not going to inspire that much passion among the players and the fans.
Exactly.
Like, we really want this third place trophy. It's not even a trophy.
No.
Yeah, it's
I don't even know if they get a medal. I don't know what they get.
Jerry Seinfeld did a funny routine about coming second in a tournament or a sport or something. It's like if you come second in a podium on the Olympics, so second is the worst place because you are basically the first loser. Like of all the losers, you came first in that group. Well done. And so third is like even worse because you don't even get the glory of being the first loser. You're actually the second loser. So it's not exactly the game that inspires the most passion. That coveted position of number three, that is, not number three.
That is a difficult position, isn't it? We have to admit that is a difficult.
For those of you listening only using the audio track, we are now currently holding our fingers up and attempting to demonstrate three with the use of the fingers. And as Martin mentioned earlier, the Italian method, which is to stick your thumb out to the side and then your two other fingers up in the air. That's a much easier way to do three than the way I tried to do it, where I tried to put my palm forwards and have my index finger, middle finger and ring finger raised, and it looks terrible because of course the ring finger is the useless finger on the hand, and when you try and raise all three fingers it just looks like some pathetic kind of dead tree or something, doesn't it? Oh, we've got connection issues again.
You actually froze a bit there, Luke, whilst your hand was in three. It was in the perfect position just to demonstrate
he's in England,
for the video.
It's not as hot there as in Italy or the Czech Republic right now. As far as
that makes all the difference.
Yep.
Shall we continue talking about
Let's go.
Football? Come on. We've been going for at least an hour. I don't know exactly. Let's see if we can make this 90 minutes long. Okay. I said before recording, I was like, hey, we should try and limit this because otherwise, oh God, it could end up being 90 minutes long. That would be ridiculous. And now I'm going, yeah, let's aim for 90 minutes. Exactly. It would be appropriate, the length of a football match.
Exactly.
And while watching England versus Czech Republic or any other game, you could choose to listen to this instead. Why would you do that? I don't know, but that's your life. You're free to choose what you want to do. Okay, stop rambling, Luke, and try and get to the questions. Okay. Best goal so far. Any outstanding? Is it too early?
Has to go to the Czech Republic player. What was his name that scored from like the halfway line?
He's got a funny name, hasn't he? He's got a name that
Schick, and the goal was really chic.
Chic.
Patrick Schick, that's his name.
Patrick Schick, and yes,
that doesn't beat I think he was Russian. and his name was something
Yarmolenko.
Jerkov.
No, he was Ukrainian.
Oh,
Yarmolenko.
Okay, it was
He's a
Jerkov.
West Ham player, and he scored for Ukraine. Yarmolenko.
No, sorry, I'm talking about like famous names of footballers, and there was someone that played about 10 years ago. And I
Oh,
think he
right.
played for Russia, and his surname was Jerkov, like.
Oh, right. You're referring to
so-
the name. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I always thought that was a good name.
Jerkov. Was it not Jorkaev?
That was another player.
Oh, that's another one.
Player.
But
Yeah.
there was a player called Jerkov. There was also Hulk, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, that's a bloody quality name, isn't it?
Brazilian, right?
Yeah.
It's it's like if you got Hulk on your team. Well, I don't know. Is Hulk I'm talking about the Incredible Hulk now, the green one.
I mean,
Is
who
he
else can you
good-
be talking about?
Is he good at football? I don't think so. He smashes things,
But he
and I
did
think that's
look
why
like Hulk,
Brazil. That's why
that
Brazil
player.
didn't. That's why they didn't win during that World Cup because they had
Yeah.
Hulk. It's like Hulk is not. He's not a tactical player. He just smashes things. But he wasn't He wasn't actually the Incredible Hulk, was he? It was just
Yeah.
a guy called Hulk.
That's such a great name, though. Such a great name.
And we also have had Kaka,
Yeah.
which means shit in some languages.
Yeah.
It's actually
yeah,
Kaka, but anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
And my favourite name at the moment in the England team is Tyrone Mings.
Okay. Yeah.
He's also my favourite player on the team. I have to say after the
I like him.
Yeah,
He was a mortgage advisor, wasn't he? And now he's a Premier League footballer and plays for England. So
I did not know that he was a mortgage advisor.
if you want to get a mortgage, just give Tyrone a call, and he can help you out. But speaking of names, well, I have to mention this as well. There was a Crystal Palace player, and his name was, I think, Marcus Fitzhall, and this is the best nickname ever. They used to call him One Size. Get it? One Size Fits
It's all. One size
Like,
fits all.
That's such a great nickname.
That is good.
That is good, isn't it?
That is very good.
Yeah.
Indeed. Bonus question. Who do you look like? Which international footballer do you look like the most? I mean, this is easy for me, isn't it? Martin, who do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Who do you think my listeners and commenters in YouTube videos, who do they say I look like?
Well, I've got two that
Mhm.
come into my footballers.
Go on.
One, I think, was Monreal that played for Arsenal,
Right.
the left back. I think you look like him. And the other one, I suppose, is Modric.
Right.
Modric, yeah.
Yeah.
Look at Modric. My cousin
Yeah.
texted me the other day saying, "Oh, another one that I think you look like, Jordan Pickford." No, I don't see it that much
I
myself.
don't see that. But Monreal, I don't know what his first...
Nacho Monreal, yeah.
Nacho Monreal is separated at birth, I tell you.
Really? Okay. What about Martin and Zdenek then? I mean, have you ever? I don't know if anyone has ever compared you to a footballer.
I have been compared a few times. I mean, I don't like to say it because it makes it sound like I'm boasting about myself, because this person is much, much better looking than me. And I think we don't look anything like. We just both have long hair and a beard, which is George Best.
Yeah.
But I actually don't think we look anything alike. Everyone just says that because I have long hair and a beard like George Best. And like I said, he was much, much. I think he was the only person I think I heard to sleep with two Miss Worlds. So that's the kind of standard we're talking about. So I don't like to say that because I don't want people to think I'm saying I look like George Best, because I don't think. But that's the one I've heard.
Yeah, I think maybe if George Best had had a child with Frank Zappa, then maybe. I saw George Best once in a pub, unsurprisingly.
With Wayne Rooney.
Yeah, I saw George Best in a pub, but it was like in train stations in England, they have pubs that are part of the train station. He was in the pub that is part of the train station of Liverpool Street Station, I think it was, or one of the main London stations.
So many times.
Is it Liverpool Street Station? No, or Paddington? It was Paddington Station, actually.
Makes you feel a bit better. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a pub that is sort of part of the station, And I went in there for a pint with a friend of mine, and George Best was in the pub, sitting alone at a table with a large glass of what looked like Chardonnay or something, like a large glass of white wine. And he was sitting there staring into the middle distance, staring into the void over his glass of wine at like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon or something. And there was a little shake as well. He was like shaking with his glass of wine there in a very unglamorous pub. And my friend went to he couldn't stop himself. He went over for his interview, and George was very nice and very gracious, and he gave him the interview and was very nice about it and stuff. And yes, George Best. Yes. What about Zdenek? Has anyone ever compared you to a footballer?
Well, back in the day when I actually had some hair, people used to say that I looked a bit like Pavel Nedved, but unfortunately, I don't have much hair left. And there are not that many, I'm not bald or anything, but it's just I have much less hair on my forehead, right? So it's difficult to find. I don't know if you have got any ideas, but personally, I doubt there is anybody remotely similar to the way I look.
Nothing is coming to me now. What about you,
Exactly.
Martin?
Well, I'm thinking of hairstyle. I remember when he played in England, Attilio Lombardo. I don't know if you know him. He played for Sampdoria. That's the only one I can think of. But
this is coronavirus hairstyle, by the way, because I haven't been to a hairdresser's for I can't remember how long. So, so at some point when the hair was too long, I just took the shaving machine. I shaved my entire head, and then I did it twice during the pandemic. And this is it. This is. I'm definitely not at my best at the moment. Yeah.
I think we've all got the coronavirus lockdown haircuts in. Although Martin, I mean, this is just your normal look, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I went to a hairdresser's. I don't know, probably a couple of weeks ago. They're open. Here.
Wait, sorry. Say that again.
I know it sounds strange, but
Martin, listeners, Martin has got a full head of hair like a lion, like a lion that has not been to the hairdressers for a few weeks. And you actually got it cut a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. I mean, before it was actually much longer. Although I should say my hairline is probably a bit similar to Zdenek's actually. But I'm just lucky I've got very thick hair, and I just try to cover up these. I mean, I don't know if you can see, so look, my hair actually starts here, but can you already see there? That's quite a big difference there, and it probably even goes back a bit further. So it's all just like an illusion, really. Like those Lego men where you just take off the hair and you just sort of I've got that. I just got just click my hair on. Yes. That's the real. What it really is, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would comment on my hair, but there isn't time. So what about, serious question now. What do you think about and by the way, I'm going to ask you this question, and then I'm going to mute my microphone, go off camera, and I'm going to blow my nose, okay? And I'll do it even though I'm now saying it, but I will be very discreet about it. So if I disappear from the frame, keep talking, okay? Everything's okay. I'm just clearing my nasal cavities. All right. So here comes the question. What do you think? It's a double question. What do you think about the refereeing style? What do you think about the refereeing style so far? And how about VAR? Okay. Refereeing style and VAR. Your comments, please. And we'll start with Zdenek.
Right. So I actually think that the referees are doing way better than ever before. I think they're doing a fantastic job, but I'm sure not everybody will agree with me, because it always comes down to some kind of an individual decision, right?
Of course.
But in terms of how they let the play flow, I think they have set some kind of a standard, and they really keep to it. You know, they are quite consistent, which has not always been the case. What do you think, Martin?
I would agree from what I've seen. And the thing I personally think is better is, I think was also part of Luke's question, is VAR, which I think in the Premier League, they've gone a bit crazy with VAR, and they want to VAR everything.
Exactly.
Whilst I think they kind of let it flow and go back to the original thing of if it's clear and obvious, then there's VAR intervention, not like, if it's a throw, like who's because I think it's just got to a stage in the Premier League where there's too much VAR, too much
they
VAR.
would give a penalty for a pinch,
and I think just let it flow a bit more. So I think it's been great, and especially pleased with the VAR thing. Although I must admit, I'm still not a fan of VAR. I'm old school, and for example, that thing we mentioned earlier of England against Germany when that goal wasn't allowed, for example, I kind of, in a strange way, like that. I think it makes part of like the sport, and like when people talk about it and they always say, but in that match this happened. I think that I like that. I think it adds to the controversy, and I think I just like it. I don't like this thing now when you score a goal and then it's just waiting of like there's VAR check, and then it's like and I always think so. Then when it's allowed, the team that scored the goal kind of celebrate twice, and when it's not allowed, it's a boost for the other team because then the fans start cheering, and then it's like, so maybe they're having a bad moment in the game, and then that's the thing of the other team scoring a goal that's disallowed that actually boosts them because there's a big cheer. So I actually don't like VAR. I don't think football is a sport where it works. So with the goal line technology is fine because it's instant. It's like, it's over the line. Yes, blow the whistle. It's not play on. But when it's like you score a goal and then it's like, something happened in the build up to the goal.
I think they just have to make sure the decisions like are sort of made quicker, and that's what it is about, because there's nothing worse than you thinking that you've scored a goal and you start celebrating with the fans and then it's disallowed. So I totally understand where you're coming from, although I would say that for me personally the benefit really outweigh the drawbacks. And I think you are a bit of a glutton for punishment. That goal by Frank Lampard, that was such a beautiful goal.
It was.
But it will never be a goal,
You're talking about the one that bounced off the crossbar and on the ground.
So sad.
I think it's almost more remembered because of that. This is another thing I think about football. People say like you only remember the winners and stuff. For example, that Dutch team of the 70s with Johan Cruyff, I think is one of the most famous teams in football. So we mentioned earlier who won the World Cup in 78. Like no one even almost remembers, but everyone remembers that Dutch team. So I don't agree with this thing of like football is only about winning and stuff like. And those moments, like that Lampard goal, I think is almost more remembered because of the like controversy behind it. So I like it. I
see what you mean, but for me, it's just it's a game that should be fair. And that's the problem. I have a big problem with this, Martin, because if it's not fair, if Maradona scores the hand
that's another prime example, or something. Hand of God,
it's just not fair. Like
it's not fair. I agree, but that's also. I mean, this happened against England. Not that I remember. I wasn't even 2 at that time, but that's such a famous moment of like World Cup history that there's part of me that thinks like. I mean, and when you say
it's only famous now, like it's only famous because it happened. If it hadn't happened, something else famous would have happened.
Possibly, but I don't think it would have been like everyone would have been talking about the VAR decision, like in that moment. I don't think everyone would have said like, oh.
So wait a minute, Martin. Hold on a minute. Your desire for drama and spectacle outweighs your respect for the rules of the game.
So first of all, I'm a football fan before anything, and I just think for the beauty of this spectacle of the sport, which brings people to the stadium, the thrill of like it's just that waiting after the goal and stuff like that. I just think, and when you say not fair, of course that wasn't fair and stuff. It's cheating, but it was fair in the sense that there was a referee there. I don't think the referee thought he scored with his hand, I'm going to give that goal. He just made a mistake, which happens. And that's the thing about VAR anyway, is a lot of it is opinion anyway. Sometimes if it's a penalty or not a penalty, it's still a matter of opinion. So it's not black and white. If that's the good thing about goal line technology, it's over the line, it's a goal. End of discussion. Yeah. Whilst with
With
more or
fouls,
less everything else with fouls, even offside. You've got that tiny little line, and it's like, no, his armpit's offside.
Yeah.
And
as long as they don't show it, because what they did in the Premiership this year, that they showed it, and then like they showed that the referee was not sure that he runs to the screen at the halfway line, and it's just a 3 minutes of nothing. Nobody's doing anything. And
exactly.
It's ridiculous. So I
think there is drama and suspense in that moment. So what I've noticed, and correct me if I'm wrong, this year or now, is what they do is, especially when someone scores a goal, which is then denied because there's an offside ruling.
Chalked off, is it?
Chalked off, right? So there is drama in that. The goal is scored, the people celebrate, and then the camera cuts to one linesman who's got the camera cuts to a linesman, and it's like, oh, he's offside. But that's drama. But anyway, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, I was just going to say, Martin, I feel like maybe your Roman roots are coming through here, in the sense that your desire for spectacle for me sort of harks back to the days of the Colosseum, where what you want is just a crowd pleasing moment of drama, regardless of the moral considerations of fairness that Zdenek and I clearly,
to be honest,
respect.
I always think about it in a sense of, what would I say if I were playing? Because I've played football all my life, and this is just the worst that could happen to you. You score a goal, it's disallowed, and it's a clear goal. And even in the day and age when we have the cameras, that's ridiculous, right? They were cameras there. Everybody on TV, everyone. It was the referee was the only person that didn't see that goal, the Frank Lampard goal. It's just. I think we can't go back on VAR now, Martin.
I agree with that. I think it would be difficult to go back now. I'm just stating my opinion of I didn't want to go there in the first place. And I think, certainly my interest, especially with COVID, no fans, I think all of these things that you're just taking away from the game and now there's VAR, there's the stopping and starting. I just think it's just it's just not what it was when I was a child. I just
taking away from the game. What are you talking about? What are they taking away from it?
Just I think the flowing nature of the game. It's just I just don't like it.
Do you know what's the worst, Martin?
I see what you mean.
Do you know what's the worst? When a referee knows it was an offside. Do you know what's the worst? When a referee knows that it's an offside, and then they just let the game play out because there is this weird recommendation
to
let the action
clearly offside. You're watching the match
and he knows it
offside,
and the referee knows it,
and everyone does.
And he's about to raise the flag, but he doesn't do it until
that's finished. Can I say something there? That is for the spectacle, but the ball is played through. The striker is offside, and the linesman raises his flag. The referee doesn't blow his whistle for the offside. He lets the play continue. The goal is scored. No. They celebrate. No, hold on, but that's not what you're talking about. But
it is. But the linesman doesn't raise his flag. The linesman raises his flag when the goal is scored.
After the fact.
And that's a recommendation. And the reason they do it is because what if the linesman gets it wrong? So it's like let's be safe rather than sorry. But what it does is that the players don't know whether they should, because the players themselves know it sometimes, and it's just so ridiculous.
It's kind of like your false. I've seen that even like when supporting whoever's been playing my team, and then it's kind of like you're half supporting the team there because maybe they're like clean through on goal, but you're kind of thinking, well, I kind of know he's offside, so he's going to score this goal. I'm going to half celebrate, and then I suppose we'll have to look at VAR. So I just think it's just taken away from what we perfectly described as the beautiful game. I think the beautiful game is now less beautiful. I think the beautiful game is now like the pretty good looking game. Like it's not to the same level because of, I mean, the COVID thing, obviously that was something they couldn't do anything about. So that's changed that. But the VAR, I think it's taken away.
Okay, that's enough for that. I'm not just cutting you off, Martin, because I disagree with you, but
I need order. I need to be order. That's
yeah,
fine.
I am John Burkout. Order.
Happy to be shut up. Exactly. Yellow card.
Viewers, listeners, of course, you are free to share your opinions.
Please do. I'm interested. What other people? Am I the only one?
Leave your comments in the comments section. Do you think that VAR is a force for good or not? And I mean, you can leave your opinions. They are purely academic at this stage because we're not going to get rid of VAR.
I don't know if FIFA are watching. I don't know.
Yeah, but feel free to have the pointless debate if you'd like to.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay. All right. I think we're maybe beyond 90 minutes at this stage, and we haven't talked about England versus the Czech Republic. So this will be our the concluding part of this conversation. So England versus the Czech Republic. Your predictions, please. And don't say 2-1, because 2-1 is always the scoreline that people give when they don't know. But anyway, what do you reckon? England versus the Czech Republic. Who will win? How disappointing will England be? Zdenek, you can go first.
Well, first of all, we should say there's a bit of context as always. So after 2 matches, both teams have 4 points, right? And the best position out of all 4 teams. So the Czech Republic are in the lead because of the goal difference. Yeah, we've got a better score at the moment. But so if we draw, we are the top of the group. And the problem, there is one thing that we need to say, is that because of the lineup, if the winner of the group will play the second place in the group of death, where we
Germany,
have Germany,
France,
Portugal, and France, and also Hungary, who are not yet out either, and they are the underdogs, but they actually are the only team that play a home match with the full stadium. Everybody is allowed to, like all the spectators are allowed to be in, so 100% capacity. So they are crazy.
They want it. They really want it. They really want it
France
as well. He says, setting up a joke. They really want it. You could
they
say
really want it. Yeah,
they are.
Hungry.
You could say that they were hungry for victory.
So
okay, carry on, Zdenek. Oh, sorry.
The point I'm trying to make is: do you really want to win this group? There are so many speculations around this that it might not actually be the best to win it, but you can't possibly admit it. Nobody's going to admit it. All the managers, like both managers, are going to say, or all the players are going to say, we're definitely playing to win. We don't want to let our fans down and all that. But to be honest, it's actually better to finish second. Despite that, I really think that the teams will try to win. Although a draw is not bad for either of the teams, because that gives you the security of progressing. Because technically, if you lose that game, either if it's the Czech Republic or England, under certain circumstances, you might still not go through it. It's unlikely. I think it's highly unlikely. With 4 points, you should be going through, even if it's from the third place.
Earlier about I don't like the third place team going through. I like it to be black and white. But we're going into the last game. Yeah, these are the scenarios. This can happen. This can happen, or this can happen. So again,
but obviously, the
game's gone, as they say.
I'm confused. I'm confused. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just speaking on behalf of everyone listening or watching this. Like, no one knows what you're talking about. Who's going to win? That's what. Let's stop talking about other stuff. Just say who's going to win.
I was about to say it. So let's admit, like, England are the favourites of this match. Yeah.
What a desperate situation that is, where England are the favourites after that dismal performance against Scotland. Can I just say, one of my questions is actually, can you pick an adjective to describe England's in their performance against Scotland? Come on, give it. I'm sorry, I'm kind of interrupting you, Zdenek, but I'm in charge of this. What is this? This video I'm moderating, so it's my choice. So adjectives, give us your adjectives for England against Scotland, Martin.
I have done my homework and I had to Google, so I wanted a really good one, and I went for lackluster.
Right.
Bingo. Yeah, hit the nail on the head. It's exactly the same word that I chose. Lackluster. Lackluster performance by England. Exactly. Lackluster is the word. Spell it, please.
No.
I didn't do it. So lack, L-A-C-K, and the rest is it
Luster,
L-U-S-T-E-R?
It's French, isn't it? Lacklustre.
Oh, R-E makes sense. Yeah,
Lackluster, meaning
just like almost like dull, boring, like no energy, uninspiring. Yeah, all of these. Yeah.
I would add another one, insipid, which is lacking in flavor, and it's the same thing pretty much.
Nice.
Yeah.
Insipid, like just a glass of water, but not as good as a glass of water, because at least the glass of water refreshes you and allows you to survive. I mean, I suppose England did survive against Scotland, so they were like a glass of water. There was just no flavour and no enjoyment. Unlike,
it was disappointing,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the lack of creativity on display was quite stunning at times. But I mean, we talk all about England, about how crap they were, about how they failed completely to do anything interesting just outside the penalty box. There was almost no penetration of the penalty box at all. But maybe we need to give some credit to Scotland, that they played well, that they completely shut England down.
That was something that almost angered me, because I thought it was quite clear to see the Scottish players were more basically up for it. They were more motivated. Yeah. And that kind of hurt me, because I thought the England players should be up for this as well.
Isn't this something I would say most pundits expected that, because it's a derby. There is some sort of historical context to this, right?
I expected both teams to be up for it, not just one, though.
I know, but it's always the Scots who want to become independent. I think it's also to do with historical context, to be honest.
Yeah, of course it is.
I think what I heard is that if there is one team that England don't want to play, it's Scotland. Like you would rather play any other team than Scotland.
I mean, if we let's say we were to get to the final and they said to me, "Do you want to play Scotland or France?"
Yeah,
I would definitely want Scotland.
The reason we don't want to play Scotland is just because
the fear of losing would
quality difference, right? The quality difference.
No, just because if you lose that match, it's just like, oh my god, like it would just be awful. Like I've got a few Scottish friends, and they would just not let me forget about it. Yeah. So that would be the worry.
And the threat of violence as well is a factor. Like we don't want to play Scotland just because we're scared of them. We're scared of the fans. Have you ever met a large group of Scottish people as an English person? It's quite a frightening prospect. That's why England don't want to play Scotland. They're just scared of getting headbutted. I'm joking, of course, about the Scottish people. They're only a little bit like that.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? I'm quite glad actually that even Scotland, they have a decent chance of getting through. I like it. I like it's what's making this interesting. If they beat Croatia, they can make it.
Honourable mention to Wales here, our neighbours, our friends, the Welsh, who are through, are they not?
They are.
Second. They're
well done.
Second in their group. Yeah,
they finished second in their group, and it looks like they're going to go on to play who? Finland. It's
hard. I don't think it's given yet.
But they are playing. Potentially, they have a good game ahead of them. I understand.
They got to semi-finals in the last Euros, didn't they?
Yeah, they're doing really well, considering like how few people live in Wales compared. Like it's like an underdog story kind of thing, isn't it? It's always nice.
Of course, as an English person, I made the point of stating that the Welsh are our friends in the context of Scottish, the presence of the Scottish here. It's like, no, we're friends with these. Yeah, they're ours. We're claiming Wales. Okay, Scotland.
All right.
Yeah. Like poor Wales.
I was still, certainly in the last Euros when they got to the semi-finals, I was thinking, I really hope they don't get to the final, because if they get to a final before England do, like in my lifetime, I would be pretty gutted by that. Yeah.
So what do you guys think? What's your prediction about this match then?
I think that we've got to play better than we did against Scotland.
The only way is up.
Yeah. I think there's. I mean, I hope that Gareth Southgate is actually a good manager, because it's still not proven that he's any good. I mean, he's quite a good. What's the word for it? Statesman. if you like.
Yeah,
Like
that's a good word, to describe him.
The statement that he made about racism and all that stuff, that's very good. He's quite media friendly. Definitely. And all that sort of thing. But does he have the actual class as a manager? We don't know, because it's yet to be proven. In the World Cup, we had an easy ride, arguably, to the semi-finals with some slightly easier teams to get there. But so let's see if Southgate has got some class and some depth in him as a manager. He will be getting angry. I hope that he got angry with the team. Here's what I want, from England. I want more passion. I want more risk. I want more creativity. I want less conservatism.
Sounds like the beginning of Football's Coming Home. Like the beginning of the song.
Because I know they can play, all right? Because I remember
creative enough,
3 lines on No, I do. I think that we need to just take a few more risks, and now maybe because it was Scotland, it's just different. That's a unique match for England for some of the reasons that we've given, and that the Scottish team closed us down, shut us down, and the fans in the stadium scared us with their kilts. I mean, it's frightening.
Tops off.
Yeah, it's frightening. They've got kilts on. Like, what are they wearing under the kilts?
Exactly.
Nothing. It's the unknown, the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
But what I want is more creativity and taking more risks, please, England. And if you're going to lose, at least lose in style. And I want, okay, you can give us your opinions now. I've spoken enough. What do you think, Martin?
I mean, I haven't actually seen the Czech Republic play like the full match. Yeah, I've seen like the highlights and stuff. So I can't say I'm particularly sure. The one thing that worries me the most, though, and this happens quite a lot, is England have gone into this tournament, and I'm sure Southgate doesn't know what his best team is. And this is the worrying thing. And nobody knows, because then it's kind of like you get to like 60 minutes, then they kind of like change it up a bit. And I think that's the problem. When the starting 11 is quite clear, it's like, okay, I want these players. So I don't think he knows. This is the problem. So I think I'm just not ruling out the possibility of another disappointment. As an English supporter, obviously having so many years of hurt, I'm kind of preparing myself for that, and anything else is a bonus. We mentioned this, I think, in our pre-podcast chat, of my kind of philosophy of life is set expectations low, and anything else is a bonus. So that's, especially as an England fan, I think that's the best kind of like attitude. So my kind of thought is we're going to get knocked out, and then anything above that is a bonus, really.
Although it shouldn't happen. You see, this match, I think it shouldn't matter too much. Hopefully both teams will progress, and it's like a win-win. Yeah, if you win, you will be feeling good about yourselves, like your team. But then you're gonna play Germany or France. You don't want that.
But I think maybe we need a lift, though. That's the thing. If England get beat, like already now, like after the Scotland game, the kind of, I mean, this is all it takes. After the Croatia game, everyone's like, oh, we beat like the World Cup finalists. This is great. And then didn't even lose, actually drew. And then everyone's suddenly saying, we're terrible again. Southgate, is he a good manager? So if we were to lose and go through and kind of limp into the next round, I think confidence would be like very low.
It's a double-edged sword,
Sorry, you can't avoid the top-class teams. You're going to get one sooner or later. If you don't get one in the quarterfinals, you'll get one in the semi-finals. And so that's not the right attitude. It's not the right attitude.
I only said it because everybody's saying it. Like all the pundits, everybody's talking about it.
I'm not talking about your attitude. I'm just saying that for it. Yeah, as you say, everyone is saying this. It's a commonly held view of like, we should try and draw this game because we don't want to play a difficult team. This is like, can we just play, enjoy playing, try and score more goals than the other team? Because don't forget, that's the idea. Yes. Just put the ball in the goal. All right, that's it. That's my statement, guys. Just put that ball in that net as many times as possible and stop the others from doing it. That's it.
I actually agree with everything you've said, but I also want to add, in the last World Cup, we had a similar situation. England won their first 2 games and then played Belgium in the third game with both teams having already qualified, and we ended up losing that game. And that was a good thing because then we had 2 relatively easy matches against I mean, one went to penalties, but we played Colombia and Sweden to get to a World Cup semi-final. And then everyone in the country was going absolutely crazy. I had different football videos on my phone on WhatsApp every day of different versions of football coming home. Yeah. Because everyone was just getting so carried away.
Yeah, it was really annoying, wasn't it?
Yeah. I must admit, some of them, that was one of the best periods of my life, I think, seeing England get to a semi-final of a World Cup.
Oh, well.
And that one question that was on here, which I just wanted to quickly mention about, I put the question of best moment as a football fan. And for me, it would be when England beat Colombia on penalties in the last World Cup, because having seen England lose so many times on penalties, and then we missed the first penalty and I was on the floor, and then the turnaround, and even now I'm getting just goose pimples just thinking about that. That was such a great moment. Luckily, someone actually filmed that as well. I was in a kind of like sophisticated bar in Italy, and everyone was just sitting down.
No, I don't believe it.
Everyone, it was like sitting outdoors kind of vibe, having something to eat. Everyone wasn't really that bothered. And then someone was obviously filming it. And then you can just see me as he was filming the screen. The penalty goes in, and then you just see Mud running towards the screen and punching the screen. It wasn't like a real screen. It was like, when you project the screen on the thing. And just going absolutely mental. And sometimes if I'm feeling down, I just watch that video to try and just keep that emotion inside me.
Pep yourself up.
Exactly.
That's when you lifted the curse. And I do exactly the same with a game, Czech Republic versus the Netherlands. That was Euro 2004. That's just like the best game for me to watch because we were 2-0 down. And then we managed to turn it around, and it was a group stage match.
Okay.
We then later got knocked out in the semifinals by Greece. But this match, it was just when we produced the best possible football. Like everybody thought we were gonna win it after that. Right. So that was like that for me. Yeah.
Well, I'll just finish by saying, let the best team win. And don't forget, it's a game of 2 halves. And, obviously, they're going to go out there, going to let their feet do the talking. It's going to be interesting. Is football coming home? We will see. But it's time to finish. I just wanted to say before my voice completely dies, that this has been good fun. And thank you, Zdenek. Thank you, Martin. May the best team win in the game. And it's going to be fun to see what happens. Okay. All right. Nice one, guys. It's coming home. It's coming home. It's coming. Football's coming away.
I'm going to take my top off now. Yeah.
You sound like you're talking after the match, Luke.
I don't know anymore. I'm going to just drink this instead. Oh, I don't know. It's crazy. Who knows? We will get an email from Coca-Cola offering us free Coca-Cola for the rest of our lives as long as we continue to keep showing the bottles during our videos.
They might even compete in our competition. We'll see.
You never know. Well, anyway, thank you so much, guys. And thanks, everyone, for watching and listening. Take care, everyone. Be good. And we will speak to you again in some form soon. All right, everyone. Cheers. Bye. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.